Many establishments and organizations are doing everything to improve the level of quality service through the performance of the employees. Others develop their systems. Some also embed the concept of corporate culture and environment in their setups. All of these are deemed effective, but sometimes, what we often forget is that the center of the service concept is our guests. This would be the focus of our study in the concept of Guestology. Learning objectives. At the end of this chapter, the students should be able to define what Guestology is and what a guestologist is, determine the predictors of customer expectation, identify the different types of customers, and determine who defines value and quality. For us to understand what it means to be a guest, we should now understand what hospitality is, as our guest is an outcome of the hospitality that we give. Service executed immaculately is different from hospitality. Service providers today are focusing on making things right rather than making people feel great. Service is the sequence of acts, tasks, and procedures which are done with consistency. It is the mechanics, the logistics, and how-tos of any process. Service, as a commodity, is expected to be built in with any product. We expect our meals to be served in less than 12 minutes and our reservations finished immediately. What makes the difference is hospitality. Hospitality is the positive emotional response elicited from our guests. Service is a skill, while hospitality is a spirit. Service is what we do for our guests, while hospitality is what we do with them. Service is about delivering the needs and wants of our guests, while hospitality is about anticipating the needs and wants of our guests, expressed and unexpressed. Service can be given methodically, while hospitality is dynamic. We forget good service, we remember hospitality. This is the reason that the end user of such process is called a guest, because we are honored that they come to us, they come with us. Dixon defined Guestology as the scientific study of the behaviors, needs, and expectations of people in a service environment, and how to use that knowledge to optimally manage a service organization. The concept that Bruce Laval, the father of Guestology, introduced has now become a science that deals with understanding the guest. Guestology entails studying the totality of the guest experience, from their expectations down to the results and feedback. Klein mentioned in her study that Guestology involves knowing the guests or clients and their needs and wants, perceptions, and expectations. Her approach toward Guestology entails involving every person with whom the service provider has in the workplace. Any establishment would want to realize that what it actually needs is to find a way to quantify the answer of answering the question, rather than to assume. For customer satisfaction and customer service to be achieved, a complete and proper understanding of customer expectations is very important. Unless the establishment already knows what the customers want, what they expect, and who they are, it will be very difficult to match up to the expectations. Companies should make it a practice to always inquire from their customers whether they have met their expectations and put all of this data into their internal research. It is important that we note of their likes, dislikes, needs, wants, and profile, as these would be the baseline of our entire operations. The reality right now is that customer expectations are continuously changing, and unless companies are attuned to them, they will fall short of these expectations, leading to customer dissatisfaction and attrition. Planning for customer satisfaction is really important in this case, as this will be the platform for the design of the experience. This is the role of the guestologist. It is very important that everything is in place when the guest's senses first come in contact with anything about your establishment, so the role of the guestologist is very critical. Much more in the Philippine culture, where there are different sets of beliefs and ideals, there are also different sets of expectations. A conference set in Hong Kong would have all its meals in cocktail style. However, if you have Filipino guests, This cannot be acceptable because a typical acceptable meal for them would entail a proper table setup with plush seating and ambience. So, different expectations would determine what kind of planning and design you would want to have for your guests. Establishments geared toward delivery of services in tourism and hospitality should always be careful not to over-deliver the said services. As our guest becomes more exposed to what we offer, he/she becomes more complex and, as such, is accustomed to rely on our decision-making skills to look what best to give to them. If a guest were to enter a fast food restaurant with tables lined with expensive linen, he/she would be expecting the levels of a casual or fine dining restaurant. Some would say that this is delighting the guest, but it is also important to think that a guest may also think that this restaurant is too expensive to dine in. Guests would want that their expectations to be met, no more, no less. Depending on the service desired, most of our guests have general similarities when it comes to their expectations. Their usual expectations would be that the establishment be clean and the staff be courteous, responsive, reliable, and friendly. These expectations usually go up if the establishment's level of service also goes up. Unfortunately, not all high-end or luxury establishments have maintained this kind of service. They enumerated a number of problems in their article, which are the following. Rooms with concerns extending from small-sized rooms to rooms with no modern technology. Arrogant and/or clueless staff, with comments ranging from staff being rude and no answers to questions posed. Failure to respond, mainly covering staff's failure to respond to guest complaints / poor delivery, covering complaints such as late service or wrong room service and long process for check-ins/outs. Cleanliness, with criticisms on soiled linen, carpet stains, and hair trapped in bathtubs. Amenities and utilities, with problems associated to the lack or inadequacy of toiletries and items in minibar. Billing, with guests grumbling about having them charged extra for parking, internet, gym, and the like. Issues like these are typically simple to resolve, but management should allot time and enforce policies in monitoring these problems and ensure that guest service is really a top priority. Customers, otherwise known as guests and clients, in the hospitality and tourism business play a significant role in the operations. To understand their behavior and to strategize the efforts of the company, it is important to identify and match each need to each type of customer. The Corporate Finance Institute, 2015, has identified 5 basic types of customers that a hospitality and tourism enterprise should be aware of. They are our loyal customers, impulse customers, discount customers, need-based customers, and wandering customers. The loyal customers are actually the most important segment to please and should be one of the priorities in mind of a specific company. Usually, this type of customers represents no more than 20% of the customer base, but actually drives majority of the sales revenues. Because of this, it is important to note that a loyal customer values a product heavily. Furthermore, they are more likely to be the bearers of positive word of mouth, WOM, and likely to recommend the company's service products. Therefore, during the planning phase, even in the decision-making process, these customers must be given heavy emphasis. Impulse customers, meanwhile, are the best type to do suggestive selling. They are also second to loyal customers when it comes to attractiveness in the market. As the name implies, these customers do not have a shopping list in mind and do shopping instinctively. Moreover, this kind of customers are receptive to recommendations on products. Similar to loyal customers, it is also important to involve these customers because what they say also matters in generating more revenue. Another type of customer which affects a company's inventory turnover is the discount customer. They are contributory to a company's cash flow because the products which are seldom purchased at full price are actually availed by these customers as best markdowns. The fourth type of customer is driven by a specific need. These customers are called the need-based customers. They buy for a specific reason and occasion, and because of this, it may be difficult to convince them to upsell. It is also important to note that these customers are adept in avoiding any attempt for upselling and that they will immediately leave after they are done getting what they need. It has also been observed that there is a possibility to convert this segment to loyal customers. If a company can prove that the service that it delivers could pose as a need for this segment, along with proper positive personal interactions, it is expected that this segment will be loyal in the long run. The last type of customer is the wandering customers. These customers generate the largest amount of traffic as they have no specific need or desire in mind but yield the smallest percentage in sales revenue. This type of customers enjoys social interaction while shopping. Thus, spending a lot of time trying to please this segment and can draw away the other segments. Although generating a small percentage to revenue, it is important to note that this segment still provides insightful information about the products and can therefore contribute to the feedback mechanism of the company. Identifying these segments is significant as they generate revenue for the enterprise. Alongside these segments drag another type of customer that is usually forgotten or left out. It is called the internal customers. As a hospitality entity, it is important to note that aside from external customers, it also serves its internal customers, people which depend and serve each other. As they are the ones who are actually doing the service process, they understand the feeling of being served together with the toil of hard work that goes with it. Thus, the service given to an external customer should also be the same with an internal customer. The expectations, which are to be satisfied, for an external customer should be the same with that of an internal customer. Quality is tied together to the concept of value and how it affects the guest service staff relationship. The measure of quality for the guests is actually based on the difference between their expectation and their experience, or as netizens quote it in present memes, reality. By reality, it means what the guests have experienced in actual sense. For example, the quality that the guest experienced matches what he/she expected, then we can say that he/she has experienced typical or normal quality positive as he/she was satisfied with the service provided. Value, in relation to quality, would entail the study of costs. To measure the value derived from a guest experience, we need to match if the costs incurred total or equal to the quality of the experience. For example, a guest would be reserving for a spa session and would be allotting time and paying for the service. This reservation of time, effort, and money should equal the reality of the service provided so as to say that the transaction has high value. Therefore, the time, effort, and money should be studied very closely by the planners of the service experience so as to have a meaningful guest experience. Since the tourism and hospitality industry is a guest-centered or customer-centered industry, ultimately, it is the customer who defines value. For example, a sanitation inspector can say if a resort establishment violates or adheres to certain laws, but this will only be an add-on toward achieving value. Why? Because the guest does not see it. For the guest, the quote, "to see is to believe," works so much. The output will be the ultimate measure whether a service design has been crafted excellently. If the guests are dissatisfied or not happy with the outcome, it does not matter if they have followed correctly the process.